What were your thoughts when you first saw that, and how is this maybe going to benefit your team down the road?
Yeah, these are a trip through Death Valley, and if you didn't have tough guys, if you didn't have a staff that has some experience to deal with it, because there's other teams that are 8-0, and you're me and a coaching buddy were talking about this today. Like, how do you judge the data if you don't know who somebody's played? Like, oh, well, that team's top 10 in rebounding. Well, they played 7 teams that can't rebound or whatever. It's a big difference of who you played, especially this time of year. And now what it's done for us, it's made us better, no doubt. And any time we weren't really good, or if we're just okay in little stretches, we got exposed. And that happened against really good teams, and that's what always happens against good teams. So sometimes you can cover stuff up by the opponent, and so you don't get as good at your stuff. And sometimes you can cover stuff up by making shots. It seems like we haven't covered anything up by either of those, so it's forcing us to get a lot better, and and another opportunity awaits us tomorrow with one of the best teams that will play in this section, one of the best defensive teams that you're going to see all year, no doubt about it. And they won 31 games last year. They know how to win, and man, do they guard. They are hard to score on. Their losses, they lost at the buzzer to St. John's, and they lost in a Donnybrook with LSU. That's the only 2 losses, and those were like basically one possession games. LSU got a couple free throws at the end, stuff kind of thing. But this is a great team, and Ross is doing an amazing job with them. Because it's funny, people think, well, Grant, they lose Grant, but Ross and Grant, it's kind of like our deal. That those guys, Ross has always been doing stuff, and the guy that we have a ton of respect for, I've known about his defense forever. And so not surprised with how good they are and the job he's done, but we got our hands full tomorrow. We hope we have a great crowd to help us, because somebody said to me today when I popped in that press conference, welcome home. That's how we've been gone so long, 23 days, I think, since we last played here. So
just from a confidence standpoint, after that trip to the East Coast, how important was it to get that win over St. Mary's on Friday?
Yeah, I mean, that was, I said it before the game, that was a cage match. 2 go in, 1 come out. They were 2 really good programs. I mean, think about St. Mary's. The people picked them to go to the Final Four this year, and they're not. They've gone through some struggles against. Again, the schedule they played has been pretty unique for St. Mary's, and you watch, they're going to win 9 out of the next 10 or maybe more, and they're going to be there in the end, and they're a good team. And so you had 2 basically animals that felt wounded animals that were going to go in and fight, and that's what it was. I mean, you guys there's been a lot of stuff going on around the university and football and all that, and so maybe people didn't pay attention, but that was a heck of a win and a heck of a game. I mean, we came out, I love the way our guys came out. We started out 11-0 and kind of had things at arm's length, and they counterpunched us a couple times, and we responded, and you had to go win that game. They weren't going to just lose it, and we went and won it.
Where have you specifically gotten better during the stretch?
I think the first thing we've gotten better at is guys understanding their roles. And Terrence Oglesby, who did our game last time, really pointed out some stuff, because he's watched us. He goes, you guys are like 1 dribble away from getting a better shot. You're just, and so just getting comfortable with that, where it just starts clicking a little bit better. And do I think we're there yet? No, but we've gotten a lot better at it. And we had some possessions, a crucial one against St. Mary's, where they had cut it to like 5, and we just came up, and it was swing, ball popped into Andrew in the corner, and he hit a big 3. And maybe 2-3 weeks ago, one guy might have dribbled it, and now he's not open anymore, And so that's just it sounds simple, and but that just kind of comes with experience and experience of, you know, you got 2 point guards that are gaining a lot of experience, and then you got 2 5-men who are gaining a lot of experience. And, you know, I think the lesson they learned is maybe being able to be available more without fouling. And, you know, we want them to be physical, but you got to be smart about it. You got to be able to, the best ability is availability. When you got that much foul trouble, you know, Omar had 12 or 10 points in 12 minutes. Sure would like to have him about 25 minutes in that game. And we squeezed every minute we could until he fouled out. But so that's a way you get better. But it's one of those things you teach it in practice, and that's a hard thing to master, especially when you play really good teams that have good post players like St. Mary's does.
If I count right, you've got 6 games left before the start of the league, 4, and then
I
Washington.
have no
Roughly
idea, Bob.
6.
I know they
Okay,
will play North
but my
Texas
question
tomorrow.
is when you look at this back half of the non-conference, where do you want to be better coming out of these next?
Just all those things I just hit on as far as the continuity, you know, I don't know if I'm ever going to have a hard, fast rotation, because, you know, we've got specialty guys that might be needed in this situation. It's almost like a bullpen of pitchers where we need the lefty, we need the jump guy, we need the speed guy. You know, I don't know much about baseball, but we've got that kind of bullpen, it seems like. And so it might not be exact, but to be able to get those guys out there at least in okay, now we got this rotation going a little bit, and there's a method to the madness a little bit, instead of like, oh, well, let's try this group, let's try that, you know. And there was some of that going on at the start, just because you want to get your best players out. I mean, you want to get your best combinations, but you don't know what those are with that many moving parts. And, you know, because Cam and Omar together, and then Tyson, got to keep him out there. But those two were playing as good as anybody, so to keep them out there more together was something we were messing with. But, you know, we couldn't do that in the last game because foul trouble. But those are all things that you're working through right now, and we're getting better at it.
In the sample size that you have so far in this season, how do you feel about the depth of this team? Being able to bring a guy like Omar off the bench and all the other scoring they're getting off the bench seems pretty encouraging compared to how this situation was last season.
Yeah. Well, you didn't watch our last game. Omar started. So.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. I know you guys are busy. I'm used to that. That's the old days. The versatility we have, and the bench scoring that there's, you know, Andrew. I mean, we don't win the VCU game without his buckets. We don't win the St. Mary's game without the buckets off the bench. And, you know, that's going to be valuable. And the depth we have this year is better, no doubt, because those guys come on. But, again, Andrew's a freshman. He's learning things. RJ's a freshman. He's learning. You know, you think of us as even I do that. Like, I was like, oh, we're going to be a lot of veterans. Well, there's 3 of them that played a ton, and then the rest of them are all new and new to, you know, some of them are freshmen, some of them are transfers in, and, you know, so, you know, I was even that way. We're like, well, we should be a little more cohesive, but then I went, well, wait, that's not really fair, because you got a bunch of guys in different spots, and, you know, RJ Keenan played in 3 years basically, or 2 years, and you know, Andrew's a freshman, and guys like that. Jace is in a new role, and Roddy's new here, and Omar and Cam. So, you know, when I stepped back and looked at it, I was like, yeah, of course there's going to be a little more time to get cohesive.
How valuable has that depth been, particularly on the road trip? Like, because that's something you didn't have last year. Has that been pretty valuable?
Yeah, and 4 games in 7 days. That, you know, even though that last game, you know, but I think that we worked while we were out there too. We didn't, you know, we practiced, because this is the time of year you got to get better. You can't just like, all right, we're peaking for November, because we're not, you know. And that excites me about this team, is that I feel like we can get about 40% better. And, you know, there's a lot of things that I know we can do well that we haven't done well yet.
What do you see from North Texas?
They're tough, and they're great defensively, and, you know, that's been what they hung their hat on over the years, and they got a lot of ballers and well coached, and you know, there's not a lot of holes in that thing. They're going to win a lot of games. When the dust settles, you're going to look up, and they're 20 plus wins, however many, I don't know, but it's going to be a lot. And, you know, they're just right in line with all these good teams that we've played, and their numbers are going to be right. And it's you know, it's the thing that I talk to our team about is not many teams are doing this. You know, they might play one good game and then they got some easy. We play back to back to back to back. Well, it gets you ready for league, and it gets you the mindset of you have to recover from that win against St. Mary's. Win or lose, you have to recover, and it takes a lot to recover and a maturity to recover, and we have to go give North Texas our best, or it's going to be a long night.
I don't know what kind of experience they have returning from last year, but you guys have played in the NIT tournament. You know, having a deep run and winning it, just, you know, what does that kind of winning a tournament like that? You know, it's obviously not where you want to be, but what does it do for the next season?
No doubt, you've seen that a lot with teams that have won the NIT, and then next year they make a big run in the NCAA tournament. I've seen that a lot, but it's their culture, and they've had that. You know, Grant's gone, but like I said, Ross has done an amazing job, and nothing, they don't miss a beat.
You talk about being 40% better. What would be the priority list there, of where you want to get better?
Just the flow of what we do and the cohesion of playing together just a little bit better. And it's not like they're selfish or anything. I'm not implying that. It's that just the timing of it, and then just seeing it, and that works, and that works pretty good. And you know, when to bust out of stuff and when not to, and when to, you know, and why we do what we do. There's that you know, like just a really simple example. We have great inbounds plays at the end of games to get, you know, we very rarely, knock on wood, turn it over on those things at the end of games. Well, we broke out of one and it almost cost us. You know, you're like, well, I was open there, but this always works. And if you do it and stick with it, and it's going to work, and it's going to work better for you. And so just the feel of that kind of stuff, and that just game experience helps that. And then, you know, our assists will go way up, all those things, and then the shooting percentage goes way up when you're getting the shots you want at the time you need them. You know, that's what shooters have to have, and we're just in like I said, you can be a half count off and it changes it. So that's all I see.
The shooting, probably not as good as you want it to be, but no reason to panic right now. When you guys need to get better at shooting, do you emphasize that with more shots, or do you just kind of let the tide roll as it usually does?
When you think about a guy like Max and Buzo and Tyson, they've taken 10 million shots. So it's like, you know, sometimes you just got to free your mind. Sometimes it's opposite. You just get out of the gym for a minute. But it's always about getting a guy easier shots. And when you get them open shots in the right time, they'll make them at a higher percentage. So sometimes it's that. But, you know, you don't want to overthink it, and you don't want to. But there's some guys that do need to, hey, you got to grind it out. There's, you know, so it's different with it's just like golf. You know, it's like the more you analyze it and the more you squeeze it with good golfers, it doesn't help them.
Yeah.
But there's other golfers that need to get out there and hit some for a while and get their rhythm and get their feel and grind it out. And that's always the case probably with the younger guys, is get in the gym more and work. You know, sometimes the older guys is like, hey, just go shoot for 10 minutes and get your mind, or lay in bed and visualize it, and you'll be right.
What have you been the most impressed with during this non-conference? Because it's been a brutal stretch. What have you been the most impressed with your team, how they handled it?
The responses. I mean, man, after that Clemson loss, we responded and we competed our tails off, and right there at Virginia Tech didn't make plays down the stretch. They made a big one when they made that almost half quarter. That it would have been our ball down 2. You know, that's anybody's game. But so we've responded and bounced back from wins, losses, almost really good for this early in the year, and we'll keep getting better at that.
I thought Omar, you know, you put him in the starting lineup. You know, I was at that Idaho Falls game. You know, what have you kind of seen out of him for him to kind of earn that opportunity? If you're saying that guy, yeah.
You know, a lot of people, and I know even players sometimes worry about starting, not starting. It's about the minutes and the rotations, and so it doesn't mean it's always a demotion. It doesn't mean, you know, Naj came off the bench forever that one year and was so valuable to our team. I mean, that's valuable, and we need that. But so it wasn't like demotion or anything like that. But it's, you know, he's playing with great energy, and it was his first start, so maybe that contributed to a couple of fouls, maybe some excitement from that. I don't know, but just, you know, who knows if that's where we settle. But, you know, I like the rotation that we had, but
it's nice to have those opportunities.
Yeah.
Those like you have those options. You know?
Yeah, no doubt, because but that it's also a challenge to figure out the best, you know, how the pieces fit together when you have more options.
You mentioned how valuable Andrew's minutes have been. I mean, how valuable has that experience been for him? That tough stretch on the road, this non-con stuff.
Oh, huge, and he's such a great kid. You know, he's a lot like Tyson that way, where when he wasn't getting the opportunity, he's up cheering and helping his teammates, and when he got his number called, he stepped up and was ready. And you know, that's hard to do, and not knowing when you're going to get your chance, and then having the courage to go in and just, guess what, I'm going to shoot this and make it. All our veterans were like, wow, that's pretty good. He's, you know, 'cause it's hard. It's hard to come off the bench and be somewhat of a pinch hitter and hit a home run. He did that a couple times, so it's good. Good.